Hey everyone, Gravity here. Before the video begins, I simply ask that if you enjoy my content to hit that subscribe button below. Nowhere else on YouTube are you going to find a Battlefield player who's played with teams competitively since Battlefield 1942, nearly 18 years ago. Don't forget to subscribe, and please enjoy the video. Over the nearly 20-year history of the Battlefield franchise, there have been many great maps worthy of praise. Some maps become legendary, icons themselves of the Battlefield series and worth remembering for their balance, uniqueness, and special gameplay. This is the story of the best maps in Battlefield. Urban maps have a special and often revered place in the minds of Battlefield players. Berlin, Karkand, Quang Tri. These are the maps that were often played and enjoyed for a variety of reasons. However, in Battlefield 2, one map in particular stood out above all the rest due to its balance, competitive history, and clean layout. This is Mashtuur City. This infantry-dominated map was one of the base maps of Battlefield 2, and it earned an interesting reputation over the game's lifespan. Most players thoroughly enjoyed it, yet it stood in the shadow of Strike at Karkand. Karkand-only servers were plentiful. Mashtuur-only servers were not. But again, very few players complained about the map. This slight difference in popularity was likely due to Karkand's tendency to be more of a grind, more concentrated, more of a struggle. That doesn't make Mashtuur any less of an amazing map. As with nearly all Battlefield 2 maps, Mashtuur was released with 3 variants: a 64-player, a 32-player, and a 16-player version. And holy crap do I wish DICE still released maps like this. Just because a certain map size was running on a server, it didn't necessarily limit the player count. You could absolutely have 64 players on a 16-player map, which was insane, and why it rarely happened. The difference in map sizes sometimes resulted in some flags being on different locations, as well as additional flags being added to the larger map sizes. The largest version of Mashtuur was actually the least played, as many players didn't care for the 2 farthest flags, which took forever to get to, nor was the single transport chopper at these points notable. The 32 and 16 player sizes is where Mashtuur earned its reputation. Mashtuur was a city map, noted for its wide streets, open plazas, and twin bridges over the riverbed. There were a few buildings where players could enter and shoot through windows and climb up to the roof, but these buildings were not super tall, nor were there many of them. In fact, Mashtuur exemplified street-to-street combat. Fights were focused around corners or across city blocks. With many alleys and streets available, the tedious grind of Karkand was avoided, and yet with the flags being a fairly short distance away from each other, enemy encounters were still incredibly common. Each team had access to 1 LAV and 1 tank, which were instrumental in holding flags far more often than pushing new ones. This was due to the bridges dividing the flags, the dangers of being flanked, and the large damage done to tanks by anti-tank rockets. Let's briefly talk map balance. On Mashtuur, while a complete cap-out was not out of the question, it was pretty rare due to the multiple options players had to break out of flags. The bridges also made it difficult for a team to assault the mech base. The primary fight for this map occurred at 2 flags. First was the mosque in the center of the map. While crossing the northern bridge was frequently a death sentence, the mech team had a chance by running up the ravine and using this apartment building for cover and staging. Alternatively, by going through the ravine under the bridge, there was a small rock formation that allowed players to jump up right into the flag zone. Grenade and smoke spam here was common, and while the US had a slight edge in holding it due to the high ground position, the position of the flagpole also put it in the perfect distance for the mech tank to cover a flag capture. The second flag of importance was the backyard, which spawned the US tank. Running across the plaza was dangerous, and many players diverged here, attacking through the ravine to the south or east through the buildings and the alleyways. The battle here was usually mid-range, and accuracy really mattered. The back and forth between these flags created an excellent attack-defend dynamic, utilizing everything the map had available without being one-sided. Lastly, Mashtuur was a perfect competitive map. This was among the maps that top Battlefield competitive teams wanted to play during 8v8 matches in TWL and CAL. It was also one of the maps played during the grand finals of the Battlefield 2 World Tournament. The vehicles did not overpower infantry. The commander position provided vision, and with the artillery, a counter to the tank and the LAV. And the armored team had to work together to defeat their counterparts on the other team. Mashtuur, in both its competitive and public server gameplay, was exceptional. The map layout did not insist on choke points or a grind, and the cap-outs were the exception. Rooftop camping was not overpowered, and players could easily be cleared out. In addition, the lighting of the map was fantastic. No obscene sun blinding you at every angle, nor the red dusty effects seen on Karkand. Remade only in Battlefield Play for Free, it was the perfect urban map, and it really is mind-boggling that Mashtuur has never been remade in future Battlefield games, given its beauty and near-perfect balance.